everyone. I'm about to read to you our new text that we're going to be using for Talk for Writing for the next 3 weeks. It's a tale of fear, so beware. It's quite a scary one. And our focus this time is just on pure description. We are looking for the description that makes the story seem alive. The story is called Fowler's Yard. Omar had always wanted to be famous. In his daydreams, he scored goals for Manchester United, ran faster than Usain Bolt, won the lottery 3 times, and outsmarted the Joker. So far, though, his life had been about as dull as a dishcloth. What he didn't know was things were about to change. It was raining, and already the streetlights had flickered on. Shadows began to fill the spaces between parked cars. After school, Omar made his way down Station Road to Fowler's Yard, where they promised cash for scrap. Peering through the barbed wire fence, he watched the tower crane pick up old cars and drop them into the giant car crusher like metallic candy. The crusher groaned into life, compressed the cars and scrunching metal till it screeched and squealed. Metal grated and sparks flew. Seagulls wheeled above the stacks of crushed cars and the crane shuddered to a halt. The driver stepped down from his cabin and wandered off for tea. An Alsatian barked in Omar's direction, but it didn't seem too interested. The rain had stepped up a notch and drifted across the yard, blurring his view. It was getting dark. Mum would be wondering where he was. At first Omar heard it. Something scratched. The sharp rasp of steel scraped against iron. It seemed to ooze from the bonnet of a wrecked lorry, and then he saw it. A copper body glinted and a pair of beady eyes stared towards him, and metal claws grazed the bonnet's rusted skin. It was a rat, but like no other rat he'd ever seen or imagined. Omar shuddered. A steel nose twitched, sensing the air. Its coiled tail flicked, and ferrous fur bristled. Other rats appeared, their curved claws lacerating the scrap metal, cleaving fresh scars. He saw their iron teeth glinting and heard their frantic chattering and smelt their stale bodies. Slowly, so slowly, another shape appeared, dragging its chrome scales as it slithered out of its hiding space. Omar gaped as the metallic snake turned its huge head, twisted its chainmail body and creaked as it turned towards him. His hiding place had been identified. 2 furious eyes glittered, and a bronze tongue flickered. Bitter rain lashed its rigid form. Omar gasped. Without thinking, he ran. His legs pounded the glistening streets, and dashing across the road, he headed towards the park, where he knew that there were hiding spaces. Ducking down under the bandstand, his heart thumped as he crouched and waited. By the park pond, a fox appeared, stood in the driving rain and glanced through the darkening trees before scurrying away towards the estate. Perhaps they hadn't followed him. Then Omar heard what he most feared. It sounded like the grinding of 1,000 metallic bones. The rat army had slipped swiftly through the fence, scurried down the road and into the park. The serpent cast a jagged shadow. Omar froze. Time crawled by, and he waited, listening to the rats scuttling as they searched the undergrowth by the swings at the far end of the park. After a while, he realised that the snake's shadow had blended with the darkness. The park seemed to settle back into silence, and house lights speckled the gloom. The rain stopped, and a few stars shone. The moon hung in the night sky like a silver claw. Omar peered through the shadows. At the other end of the park, he could just see the silhouette of the snake wrapping itself around the slide as if it were cuddling from the cold, shiny surface. He could hear the rats cracking their teeth against the park gates, spitting out shards of steel that were not to their taste. Omar ran. He ran, and he ran, and he ran, until he reached home, where he blurted out what had happened. His mother didn't believe him. She muttered about tricks of the light and overactive imagination, and tutted at Omar impatiently. His grandmother pursed her lips, shook her head, and knitting needles clicked and clacked furiously. But Grandpa looked straight at him, his mouth open, and he knew, even though he did not say a word, Omar knew. He knew that his grandpa believed him. After that day, Omar's life changed. Things were never to be the same again. Sometimes Omar would wish that his days were still as dull as a dishcloth.